Have you ever felt lost? Like you're stuck and there's no way out? This is the inspiring journey of a young man who turned his life around, from being jobless and uncertain to becoming a leader in his community. If this story moves you, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to my channel for more real-life journeys like this one. It started with a job, a simple position at the local grocery store. Nothing fancy, just scanning groceries, stocking shelves and helping customers. But for him, it wasn't just a job, it was a lifeline. He had been searching for direction, caught between the pressure of supporting his family and trying to find a future for himself. When he landed the job, it felt like the first brick laid on a path towards something bigger. Each day, he showed up with a quiet determination. He learned quickly how to greet customers with a warm smile, how to keep the shelves tidy, how to handle the register during the busy rush. It was exhausting work, long hours, sore feet, and moments of self-doubt. There were nights he'd come home barely able to keep his eyes open, wondering if it was worth it. But deep down, he knew it was, because for the first time, he felt like he was part of something. He wasn't just clocking in, he was contributing to his family, to the store, to himself. One moment stuck with him. A little girl came through his checkout line holding a red balloon. Her eyes lit up like it was the most magical thing in the world. "Look at my balloon," she giggled, bouncing in place. He smiled. "That's a beautiful balloon. Did you get it at a party?" "Yes," she said with pride. "I love balloons." It was such a small exchange, but it warmed his heart. It reminded him of the joy in simple things, the kind of joy he hadn't felt in a while. It reminded him of the kid he used to be. He carried that feeling with him, and slowly he started to grow. His manager noticed. She saw how he stayed late to help others, how he handled pressure with grace. One afternoon, she called him into her office. "You've been doing a great job," she said. "I'd like to offer you more hours, more responsibility, maybe even a role in the stockroom." His heart raced. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "I'd love that." The stockroom brought new challenges: organization, inventory, keeping track of deliveries. It was physically demanding, but he didn't mind. He threw himself into the work, driven by pride. But with the added responsibility came added pressure. Balancing the job, time with his family, and the youth program he attended became difficult. Some days, it felt like everything was pulling him in different directions. One night at dinner, he sat quietly, the weight of it all written on his face. "I'm trying," he said to his parents. "I want to help you both. I want to do everything right. But it's hard." His father placed a hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to carry this alone," he said gently. "We're proud of you. We're in this together." Those words changed something in him. He realized he didn't have to be perfect. He didn't have to do it all alone. With renewed focus, he started managing his time better, taking breaks, laughing with his co-workers, having meals with his parents. He didn't stop working hard. He just stopped trying to do it all at once. The youth program became his sanctuary. Surrounded by other young people with dreams and struggles of their own, he found a sense of belonging. They shared goals, supported each other, and reminded him he wasn't the only one trying to rise. Then came an announcement that lit a fire in his heart. "We're hosting a job fair next month," the program coordinator said. "It's a great opportunity to meet employers and practice interview skills." This was it, another stepping stone. He signed up immediately. As the job fair approached, he practiced his elevator pitch, worked on his resume, and got feedback from friends. He wasn't just preparing for a job, he was preparing for a future. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel scared. He felt ready. The day of the job fair arrived, and with it came a whirlwind of emotions: nerves, hope, determination. He stood in front of the community center, clutching a neatly printed resume in one hand and a deep breath in the other. Inside, the room buzzed with energy. Booths lined the walls, each one representing a different business: restaurants, offices, retail stores, all with people eager to talk, to listen, to hire. He walked in, shoulders squared, reminding himself of everything he'd learned. The practice interviews, the late-night resume edits, the encouragement from his youth program, it all led to this moment. He approached the first booth, a popular local restaurant. The manager looked up with a smile. "Hi there," she greeted him. "What brings you here today?" He smiled back, feeling the nerves give way to confidence. I'm looking for an opportunity to grow. I've been working at a grocery store, learning about customer service and inventory. I'm passionate about working hard and being part of a team. They talked. It felt natural, like he belonged there. As he moved from booth to booth, each conversation grew easier. He spoke with small business owners, non-profit reps, even someone from a nearby tech startup. Some took his resume, others gave him advice. No one turned him away. Around him, other young people shared their stories, some struggling to make ends meet, others full of big dreams and bigger fears. They laughed, encouraged each other, traded tips and phone numbers. There was something beautiful about it all. Strangers coming together, hoping for a chance, a future. By the end of the day, he was exhausted but proud. Maybe no one had handed him a job on the spot, but he had shown up. He had tried, and more importantly, he had grown. Back at home, he flopped onto the couch, a satisfied smile on his face. "How was it?" his mom asked, placing a warm hand on his shoulder. "It was good," he said. "Really good. I didn't get a job yet, but I feel ready, like I'm finally moving in the right direction." The following weeks passed quickly. He kept working at the grocery store, helping customers, managing the stock room, and staying committed to the mentorship program. But one afternoon, while stacking boxes in the back, something caught his attention. Two customers were chatting just outside the stock room door. Their voices were low but clear enough to hear. "There's just not enough support for kids these days," one said. "It's hard for them to find jobs or even guidance." He paused. That conversation stuck with him. What if he could be part of the solution? Later that evening, he stayed behind after his shift and knocked on his manager's office door. "I have an idea," he began. "What if we started a mentorship program right here at the store? Something small, just helping teens learn job skills, build confidence, maybe even connect with potential employers." His manager looked at him, eyebrows raised in surprise. Then she smiled. "That's a brilliant idea. Let's make it happen." And just like that, a new chapter began. He poured his heart into it. He reached out to schools, community centres, and local organisations. He created flyers, planned workshops, and invited guest speakers. He didn't have all the answers, but he had the drive, and that was enough. When the first group of young people arrived for the programme, he stood at the front of the store, nerves fluttering once more. "Thank you all for being here," he said, voice steady. "This program is here for you, to help you grow, to believe in yourselves, and to find the tools to build your future. We're all in this together." The weeks that followed were more rewarding than anything he had ever experienced. He watched once shy teens learn how to shake hands, speak with confidence, and dream bigger than they ever thought possible. He listened to their stories, their struggles, their hopes. They reminded him of himself, and slowly the program became something bigger than he imagined. A safe space, a launch pad, a family. He had come so far, and now he was helping others do the same. As the mentorship program grew, so did he. Each week more young people showed up, some eager, some hesitant, all looking for a chance. The store transformed on those evenings. The back room became a classroom. The aisles, once silent after hours, now buzzed with laughter, questions, and the sound of dreams taking shape. He had never seen anything like it. One evening, after a particularly inspiring session on interview skills, he received an email that made his heart race. It was from a local community college, subject, mentorship, partnership opportunity. The message explained how they had heard about his program through community word of mouth. They were impressed. They wanted to partner with him to provide workshops on life skills, career readiness, and even offer pathways to college enrollment. He stared at the screen for a moment, not quite believing it. He ran to the kitchen where his parents were washing dishes. "Mom, Dad! You're not going to believe this," he said, holding up his phone. "What is it?" his mom asked, drying her hands with a towel. He grinned. "The community college wants to work with us. They want to help expand the mentorship program." His dad looked at him with pride in his eyes. "You're doing something real here, son, something that matters." In the following weeks, he met with school representatives. Together, they brainstormed new ways to support the youth in their town, things like financial literacy workshops, time management classes, and even field trips to local businesses and trade schools. And then he did something he had never thought he would. He enrolled in college himself, evening classes in business management. He knew if he wanted to keep this program alive, if he wanted to truly lead, he had to keep learning. So he balanced it all: work, school, and the mentorship program. It was exhausting, but worth every second. His nights were a blur of textbooks, lesson plans, and sometimes just quiet moments at his desk with a cup of coffee, dreaming about what could come next. He started to notice the little victories. A student who once couldn't make eye contact now confidently led a mock interview. Another who struggled with writing completed her first resume and landed an internship at a non-profit. Then one afternoon, as he reviewed some notes, he got a text from one of the girls in the program. "I just got accepted to the community college. Thank you for believing in me." He stared at the screen, his chest tightening in the best possible way. "You did it," he typed back. "I'm so proud of you." As months passed, the program became a staple of the community. Local businesses began reaching out, asking how they could support. Parents volunteered. Alumni from the program returned as mentors. The once small effort had become a movement. To celebrate their one-year anniversary, he organised a special evening, a community night at the store. There were lights, food, music, and a slideshow of memories from the past year. He stood at the front, looking at the crowd, parents, young people, store staff, college reps, all gathered together. "Thank you for believing in this vision," he began. "This program isn't just about job skills. It's about hope. It's about knowing that no matter where you come from, you deserve a chance to grow. And it's about doing it together." He handed out certificates, hugs, and heartfelt words. There were tears, laughter, and endless applause. That night, as he locked up the store and walked outside, he looked up at the stars once more. A year ago, he came home from a job fair with no offers, just hope. Today, he stood surrounded by success stories, by family, and by a future full of possibility. The journey was far from over, but he now knew one person, one idea, and one act of belief could change everything. A few weeks after the mentorship program's one-year celebration, he found himself sitting at his desk, staring at a blank notebook page. He had a question burning in his heart. What's next? The program had become something bigger than he'd ever imagined, but he felt the pull to do more. Not just help a few dozen young people, but hundreds, thousands. He remembered what it felt like to be lost, unsure of where to go, who to turn to. If he could help more people avoid that kind of darkness, he had to try. That night, he scribbled a new heading at the top of the page. Next phase, outreach and expansion. It started with a phone call to the community college. "I have an idea," he said to the director of student engagement. "What if we created a travelling mentorship model, taking workshops directly to schools, churches, and even shelters?" There was a pause, and then a simple reply, "Let's do it." In the months that followed, he and a team of volunteers packed up folding chairs, whiteboards, handouts, and their passion and hit the road. They visited underfunded high schools, small-town libraries, and community centres that hadn't seen this kind of energy in years. He watched young faces light up as they realised someone cared about their futures. He witnessed shy teens stand up and share their dreams. And every time someone said, "I didn't think anyone saw me," it reminded him why he started. He also made it a point to keep growing. At night, after long days on the road, he worked toward his associate's degree in non-profit leadership. He wanted to build something sustainable, an organisation that could outlive him and keep impacting lives long after he stepped away. Then one day, a letter arrived in the mail. It was from a national non-profit. They had heard about the mentorship program through the community college, and they were offering him a grant, $50,000, to scale his program, bring on more mentors, and develop digital resources. He couldn't believe it. He took the letter to his parents. His mom cried. His dad hugged him like he was still a little boy who just made the winning play at a school game. "You're changing lives, son," his father said softly. "This is your purpose." With the grant, he launched a website filled with free tools, resume templates, interview prep videos, mental health resources, and even a mentor matching portal. He hired 2 full-time coordinators, former students from the very first class of his program. But with every new step, he remembered to stay grounded. He still worked a few shifts a week at the grocery store, still attended community meetings, still took time to visit with his parents each Sunday evening, sharing a meal and stories of the lives he'd touched. One of the proudest moments came during a visit to a high school in a rural area. He gave a talk on overcoming setbacks and chasing dreams. Afterward, a senior boy, quiet, clearly nervous, approached him and said, "I used to think people like me don't get second chances, but now I want to apply for college." That night, driving home on a long, quiet highway, he looked out the window at the stars. He thought about how far he'd come, from scanning groceries at a checkout counter, doubting himself, to standing in front of crowds and offering hope. He had grown, not just into a leader, but into a light for others to follow. The road ahead still had turns, bumps, and uphill climbs, but he wasn't afraid. He had learned that true success isn't about what you achieve alone, it's about what you build for others. And he was just getting started. The sun peeked through the windows of the small office he now called headquarters. It was modest, 2 desks, a couch someone had donated, and a whiteboard filled with goals, but it was his dream in motion. The non-profit he had started just 2 years ago had grown beyond his imagination. What once began with a single idea in the break room of a grocery store had turned into a regional movement. And yet, he knew it wasn't about him anymore. It never really had been. Every week, his inbox filled with stories. One came from a single mom in Detroit whose son had completed their online mentorship course and landed his first job at a tech store. Another from a high school counselor in Texas who had implemented the program and seen an entire senior class energized to apply for college. He saved every message, but one day a letter arrived by mail, a handwritten envelope addressed simply, "To the man who gave me hope." Inside was a note from a young woman named Layla. She had been part of his program during one of the outreach visits to a small town on the outskirts of Kentucky. She had barely spoken during the workshops, but now her words leapt from the page. "I was going to drop out. I didn't think I had a future. Then I heard you talk about your struggles, and for the first time, I believed someone like me could dream too. Today, I start nursing school. Thank you for lighting the way." He sat in silence for a moment, the letter trembling in his hands. It was then he realized he hadn't just built a mentorship program. He'd helped build a movement of belief, and belief spreads like wildfire. That month, he organized the first annual Rise and Lead Summit, a free event where mentors, students, community leaders, and educators could gather in one space. He wanted to create not just access to opportunity, but a deep sense of unity and inspiration. They held the event in a repurposed high school gym. Folding chairs lined the court, and a makeshift stage was decorated with strings of lights and hand-painted signs. Over 300 people showed up from 5 different states. Many had driven hours just to be there. He stood on the stage, heart pounding, and looked out at the faces staring back. "This," he said, voice steady, "started with fear. Fear that I wouldn't be enough, that I couldn't make a difference. But I learned something powerful. You don't need to have it all figured out to start. You just need to care and be willing to show up." The crowd stood clapping, not just for him, but for themselves, for the courage it takes to believe again. That day, a new seed was planted, a national network of mentorship chapters, different cities, same mission, same heart. He recruited former participants as leaders, young people who had once doubted themselves, now standing tall, guiding others. It wasn't just one light anymore, it was hundreds. He still came home every Sunday night like he always had, to sit at the dinner table with his parents. His mom always made his favourite chicken pot pie, and his dad would say, without fail, "So tell me who you helped this week." And he would. He always had a story. But one evening, as they cleared the dishes, his dad looked at him thoughtfully and said, "You know, son, someday, someone's going to write a book about you." He laughed, but deep down he felt the truth in the words. Because it wasn't just a story about him, it was about all the people who believed, who tried, who failed and got back up, and who decided that even if the world told them they were small, they could still make a big difference. As he stepped outside onto the porch, the stars above him brighter than usual, he closed his eyes and smiled. The journey wasn't over. In fact, it was only just beginning. It had been 5 years since that first job fair, What started as a nervous young man walking into a crowded community centre had now grown into something far greater than he could have imagined. A mentorship movement that spanned cities, states, and hearts. But with growth came a new question. What happens when the mentor becomes the visionary? He had poured every ounce of himself into the Rise and Lead Summit, into the expansion of local chapters, into empowering young leaders to carry the torch. But as the organisation flourished, he found himself stepping back, not because he was tired, but because he knew the future didn't belong to him alone. One quiet afternoon, sitting by the window of his modest office, he opened his notebook and wrote just 4 words. Build something that lasts. The thought had been growing inside him for months. He didn't just want to run programs, he wanted to build a system, one that would thrive with or without him. So he started assembling a small think tank, former mentees, educators, non-profit advisors, and tech entrepreneurs. Together, they created a digital mentorship platform that could scale globally. A space where any young person, no matter where they lived, could connect with mentors, access skill-building resources, attend live workshops, and track their personal growth. It was called Spark Bridge. The name came from something his mother had once told him when he was younger. Your spark can light the way, but it's the bridge you build for others that becomes your legacy. The platform launched quietly, beta tested in 5 schools, and within 6 months it had over 15,000 users. Students from underfunded rural areas in Montana were meeting mentors from Chicago. High schoolers in New Jersey were building resumes with the help of professionals in California. People were talking, connecting, and changing each other's lives. He watched it unfold from behind the scenes, sometimes amazed, always humbled. One morning, while reviewing feedback from the platform, a message caught his eye. I used to feel invisible.